Welcome, everybody, to Bar and Restaurant Breakthroughs podcast. Today, we're going to talk about branding secrets for bars and restaurants that make them stand out from the competition with Henry Kaminski. Henry's got a design firm in the New York area. And Henry, we met probably, a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago in one of our marketing groups. And Henry kind of just reached out and says, hey, man, I do branding. I do a lot of design work for bars and restaurants. I looked at some of his stuff. I was blown away. And actually hired him to do stuff for Casey's and Rural on Tap. So, Henry, I know I gave you a quick little intro there, but if you want to add anything else kind of to your background.
Sure. Well, Nick, first and foremost, thanks again, buddy, for having me on the podcast. You do amazing things with your brand, and you are a tremendous inspiration. And I remember it's been about 2 weeks, 2 years, 2.5 years at this point that we've known each other. And I've just seen you grow exponentially over those years, and want to give you a big shout out for that. So real quick, like you said, I've been in the design and branding business for 10 years now. I've worked with hundreds of restaurant owners along the way, and really found out what works and what doesn't work when it comes to branding identity for your restaurant. And I worked with a lot of higher end. I've worked with a lot of franchises, and one of the biggest things that I see as a disconnect when restaurants go into the identity part of their branding is the extreme inconsistency that they struggle with. And it's having one advertisement look one way, and then another week or two, they come out with another advertisement and it looks 100% 180. Yeah. If that makes any sense, from the previous ad, where it almost looks like it's two different restaurants.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and I want to get into more detail with that. Before we go on, I guess, why don't we answer the big question of, what is branding? Because I know there's, especially with me too, I wasn't really big into branding, years ago, and I didn't really know what branding was. I heard what branding is, but I mean, what is it? What does branding mean? If you want to brand your restaurant, what does it mean? What is it going to do for you? What are the benefits of branding for your bar or your restaurant?
Awesome question. I get it every time somebody gets on the phone with me. It's a desired perception, Nick. It's how you want your audience to view you. And when I really break it down to a third grade level, we all want friends in life, right?
Right.
And basically what we want is, how would that friend speak of you? How would you want that friend to speak of you if they were introducing you to another person? That's what branding is all about.
Right. No, that's great. And how exactly do you do that, with a bar or a restaurant? I know there's branding. You look at like McDonald's, all these big companies, they got millions and millions of dollars to go throw their logo all over the place. And, they can do that. I'm always about, direct response marketing. I know you are too. When you spend money, you want to be able to track and measure your results. McDonald's, Burger King, Hooters, whatever, they go out, they put out this commercial. They don't know exactly how much came in from that unless it's tied to an offer, and you can't really see that, but you could still do branding with direct response marketing. But kind of how do you do that within your marketing, with exactly kind of what you just talked about, because for the small bar restaurant owner, we can't afford to just go, here's our logo, we're branding ourselves. We can't afford that. We need results. We need money in our pocket.
That's it. So the first thing that I tell my clients is, you got to know your audience. You got to know the people that are walking in your front door. And you really got to know what makes Johnny that sits at the corner side of the bar every Thursday. You got to know what makes him tick. And when you get personable with your audience through your branding, that's what separates you from your competition. So you have two bars, Nick. You have a great pulse on the community with those 2 locations. And you have your local customers, don't you?
Right.
So it's understanding them and then creating a consistent message that goes out to your community and talks about some of the things that makes these folks tick. That's really going to connect with your target audience. So how do you do that? Consistent marketing message and consistent brand identity. That's how you do it.
Yeah, and one of the ways that I do it best, and the way that I, kind of explain this to all my clients and my audience, is I think one of the best ways with branding is just by, number one, starting with lead generation, of getting people to hand over their information for some type of offer, getting them to say, hey, I want to do business with you. Here's my information. Please send me that. I want to come in and do business with you. But the follow-up, and like you're saying, the consistent marketing messages of getting that to them. A lot of bar restaurant owners can't keep affording to spend money on radio, TV, mass media, and getting that marketing message out there, but they can spend money to generate these leads, get people who are interested, and even have the disposable income to go to bars and restaurants. But then that consistent follow-up message of communicating with them, where I think that's branding as well, because I think sometimes people feel branding is maybe just the image, the design, but I think it's also, like we're talking about, the communication, the messages that we're sending to our audience, which is perfect through email or even through Facebook posts that are just targeting those specific people. What would you say about that?
I think that there's 3 parts of branding that everybody should understand. There's the brand identity, the brand messaging, and the brand experience. So when they walk through that door, what is the experience that they're going to have? And then during that experience, how are you making them feel? And then what are they going to say about you after they leave your establishment? So identity, messaging, and experience must all be consistent in order for you to have a successful brand. And so it's powerful stuff. It's powerful stuff, and that's why these bigger brands are dominating, because they've mastered it. Now, I want to take this a step further for a second and ask you this. So now that you've established that, now what happens? And the biggest thing that I want to address is a lot of the bigger brands nowadays are coming down into the personal level, and they're becoming very personable with their audience. Look at the big pizza chain that is Papa John's, right?
Yeah.
That guy's on every single commercial. He's the face now of Papa John's.
Yeah.
And he's done a tremendous job on connecting his personality to his audience. And that's what I encourage all of my restaurant clients to do. Is everybody loves to chum it up with the owner.
I agree. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I always tell people want to do business with people who they like and trust. And one thing I always try to focus on, especially when it comes to the lead generation side of things, is when I'm communicating with my audience, I want them to feel like they know me on a personal level, even if they've never met me before. And so, just like you said with the guy from Papa John's, do you know his name? I can't think of his name. Is it John? Let's just call him Papa John. But he's interacting, he's talking, and people kind of feel like they know him just because of his commercials. And I think that's really, really important. I think you're right that a lot of companies are doing that. And one of the best ways, just like you said, he's on all these commercials. Video is getting to be huge. What are some video branding strategies? And I know I've worked with so many different clients before where they just hate technology, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's some things that we like, there's some things we don't like, but there's very simple ways to create video these days, where staff members, managers, can kind of do that stuff. But what are some unique video branding strategies that just about any bar or restaurant owner could do with their iPhone? It's not like you got to have this big video crew come in and do a $10,000 commercial, but kind of what have you seen? What ideas do you have for some video branding strategies that kind of makes you stand out from the competition and makes people want to do business with you versus the competition?
Well, everybody, all of us have this weird thing inside of us about voyeurism. We love to be that fly on the wall to our favorite celebrities and secretly follow them around and be behind the scenes. And I found in my business and a lot of my clients' businesses, when I tell them to shoot some behind the scenes video on some of the things that you guys are working on, some of the team efforts that you guys do. Maybe you guys do some charitable stuff, right? And maybe you guys sponsor softball teams or so on and so forth, right? So people love to see that behind the scenes action. So that's one actionable video strategy that I would recommend you do, because people.
What about like making a certain new menu item in the kitchen or something like that? So that's kind of like a behind the scenes in the kitchen, cooking it, starting kind of from scratch, and hey, here's what's on special this week or something like that.
Exactly. Or you come up with or Joey that comes in every Tuesday recommended something, right? And now you implemented that and created a promo item from it, right? Maybe you call it Joey's special, right? Now, what did you do? You included a audience member, which is going to increase your engagement. It's going to increase your likability. It's going to bring in that personal touch, right? And then the second part is, hey, this is how we've created that. So guys, and literally you're doing this on an iPhone. And you're saying, hey guys, we just had this awesome recommendation by one of our customers, and we're actually going to put that into action this week. So meet Joey. Joey was, and then you go into it. That's it. So it's a couple minutes long, right? And people are going to connect with that video on so many different levels, right? And you're kind of sneaking in the promo into the video,
right?
So maybe the call to action at the end of the video would be like, hey guys, this promo is only going to be going on until this Thursday. So if you want to grab the Joey special, make sure you come in, between 4 and 8, during happy hour or something like that, right? To grab it, right? And then there you go. There's your ad. And then you just became intentional with that video piece of content.
Right. No, I like that. What else would you say? Do you have any other ideas for video? I really wanted to pick your brain on video just because, that's becoming so popular and just so many people engaging with video, and it's so cheap. YouTube and Facebook video ads, Instagram video ads are so inexpensive compared to TV and everything else that's out there, and people can visually see this stuff. But what else would you say? Just kind of maybe showing some of the food items, the drink items, some of the behind the scenes type stuff. Would you say those are kind of probably the best things for bars and restaurants to implement?
Well, here's the thing. People buy experiences. They buy feelings.
Right.
That's what they buy. They're not buying that cheeseburger. They're not buying that beautiful filet mignon. They're buying that experience. They're buying that feeling that when they come into your establishment, something happens to them. Right? So with video, what I try to do, and this isn't necessarily just for restaurant owners, this is for any client, this is for any business. If you can showcase, like for example, we're working with let's put this in the context, right? So I'm working with a restaurant right now and helping them build their brand and their marketing. And I said, I would love to have you shoot, and this is where you may want to invest in a decent quality video with some editing. Yeah. So you hire a videographer and they create for you maybe a couple 1 minute to 2 minute edited videos, and you're showing great customer experience. You're showing people laughing. You're showing people enjoying their meal. You're showing people amongst their families, right? Eating. people are going to say, that's what I want.
Yeah.
And that's the experience. That's the feeling that you're demonstrating. So I would invest. The behind the scenes stuff, unedited, raw, and cut stuff is fun, but I still think there's some video that must be professionally done that captures that feeling and experience that I'm talking about.
Yeah, and what I've done before, just for people listening or watching this or even reading this on my website, I've hired videographers to come out and just done it on trade, $200, $300, $400, $500 for certain video projects. So it only cost me maybe $100, $150 in goods, to get a nice video done. And then when you're putting it on Facebook, YouTube, it's pretty inexpensive. So I don't want people thinking they got to spend a ton of money because, or it also depends on the area you're in. When you're downtown New York, kind of where you're close by there, things are going to be a lot more expensive than rural Arkansas, for example.
Right.
So,
right. Well, listen, bartering is a great idea.
Yeah.
You find somebody who's a videographer and he's one of your customers. You say, hey.
Yeah. No, definitely. And I wanted to touch on video, but I also want to touch in the design side of things for, even social media, even newspaper. You've done some awesome work for me. And what I will do under the video on our website is I will put a couple of those social media images on there that you've done for me. Like you did that dollar burger one, you did the taco ones. Those turned out great. What kind of tips can you give to people for, designing a great looking ad? What are the things you don't want to do? And what are the things you really do want to do?
Excellent question. So some real elementary, fundamental things that you should do with all of your advertising design is this. You want to pick a color scheme and stick with it. You want to pick a font selection and stick with it. And make sure that every single one of your pieces of design has either your logo on it and or your website or some sort of call to action that says, hey, do this.
Yeah.
And that's the direct response that Nick was talking about before that really separates you from the competition, because you cannot expect your viewer of that ad to take action on it without you deliberately saying, hey, come on, do this. I've learned that the hard way over many, many years when I would do ads, for my company, where I just thought that, oh yeah, it's expected for them to pick up the phone and call me, or it's expected for them to visit the URL that's underneath my logo. If you don't have the word visit next to your logo, your URL or your website domain name, you're leaving money on the table.
Yeah. People have. It sounds like common sense, but people literally have to be handheld to take that action. And I'll kind of just chime in a little bit on this too. It's when it comes to the free social media stuff, I always tell my clients, like, hey, if you want to put something out free and just do a nice looking design and just say, hey, here's our specials, great. But if you're spending money, you got to be able to track it and figure out if people are coming in for that. So there needs to be some type of call to action of, maybe show this post or click this link and they go to the web page in order to get this coupon, download it, enter in their information, whatever it may be, some way to track it. But, I just see so many bars and restaurants, exactly what I used to do, just like I told you. Nice picture of our food. Here's our logo. Like me on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, this and that, our address and all that kind of stuff. And I was spending hundreds, if not, $1,000 to $1,500 a month on that type of advertising, but not seeing any kind of results like that because so many other bars and restaurants advertise that way. It's here's our specials, here's our promotions. But where I learned is more of a direct response way is we could still get great branding. We could still put all that out there, but have a call to action so you can track to see if this is working or not. Because if you're spending $1,000 on ads and people aren't coming in for it, don't keep running it. But some people just keep running it because the law of business is you got to keep marketing. It costs money to make money. But if you see something's not working, don't keep doing it over and over and over.
Right. What you want to do is do over and over and over what works.
Exactly. But no, those are some great tips because, I've found myself in the past, like talking about the whole design stuff, stick with a color scheme, stick with the fonts, the right types of fonts. Like ever since you started doing stuff for me, I'm like, this is what our stuff has to look like. And I've had people reach out to me, who does your design work? Who does this? This looks great, and so now, I always try to focus on using that font all the time, and I'll put some of those images down below. But I think that just, again, it makes you stand out. And when everybody else is, I see a lot of bars and restaurants in our area, they'll do Facebook and they'll go find an image off of Google, and they'll just put that on there. And I think that kind of hurts you because, I think you need to be taking photos of either exactly what you have there with, a great looking product or image in the fonts and all that kind of stuff. Or, kind of like the design stuff you do where you buy these high quality fonts and you put a nice background and you can put those types of things together. So you've done stuff for me before where the image wasn't something from the bar. Then you have done stuff where it is image from the bar. But I think it all just falls in line with each other just from the the color schemes and the fonts that are used. It's like you see the same thing, and now when people see that, they can say, oh, that's Casey's, or oh, that's Roll on Tap, without even seeing our logo.
Yeah. And I just want to plant this seed with your audience as well. When people see amateur and unprofessional designed ads, subconsciously they think that you have poor quality food and poor quality customer service and a poor quality brand overall. But when they see that polished picture of that menu item and the consistency in the branding, everything look at Houlihan's, look at TJ Fridays, look at those bigger brands. They're all so consistent, and when you go there, the experience is consistent as well, the food's consistent as well. So you only get one shot to make a first impression. Yeah. And if you're going to start grabbing low resolution poor imagery off of Google just to throw something up, like Nick said, you're hurting yourself.
Yeah, and it's just like a website. Think about it. And I'm sure a lot of us could say the same thing. We've gone somewhere to a website to go buy something. It looks like it was done in the 80s or the early 90s. And we're like, oh, well, I'm going to go back to Google and find something else that looks more, that looks newer, that looks more professional. And that same type of thing comes to what you're putting out there on social media, in the newspaper or whatever. And I've done a lot of newspaper ads, and a lot of the times they have wanted to like do their own designs and stuff for me, and I've let them, and I look at it and I'm like, this looks bad. They take some clip art and put an image of a clip art steak on there, and I'm like, this isn't what I'm looking for, No. So, but no, you made some great points. And again, I just want to pick your brain on some video strategies and also print design type stuff, things for social media. What are the things you do want to be doing? What are the things you don't want to be doing? Because I think that'll really help our audience. Is there anything else that you want to add in? Where else can people get more information on you if they need some great design work? If people don't have a designer, sometimes it's hard to find people. They don't know who to trust. They don't know, maybe you can show them some examples or whatever it may be. Where could they go?
Sure. So I'm heavily on Instagram. So if you go to Unique_Designz with a Z, you can catch me there. And then you can also just come to my website at Unique Designz with a Z at the end, not an S, .net. And you'll see my story. You'll see what we actually do for our clients and how basically we help you get the results that you're looking for with your branding and your messaging. And Nick, awesome job again on this podcast. I love what you're doing. I love the value that you're giving to your audience. And
thanks for designing the cover of the podcast. You designed the cover of it.
I did. And it's just a pleasure to work with you because you know what you want, and you're just looking to leverage that time. One thing that I could empathize with all of the bar and restaurant owners out there is that time is very limited.
Yes.
And there's only so much we can do.
Yeah.
Right. And we become extremely overwhelmed when we try to take it on all ourselves. And so when you find that right designer, you find that right person that can help you, take your business, take the things that you want to take to the next level without you having to do it. It's the biggest thing that grew my business.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, I appreciate it, Henry. I will leave links to your websites, Instagram, all that stuff below. I'll even throw a couple images of the things you've done for me besides the podcast cover. But, some of the stuff you've done for Casey's and Rural on the webpage as well. So I appreciate it, and we'll be talking soon.
Thanks a lot, brother. Talk to you soon.